protect his very life.
He has the mummies.
From 1525 BC.
He has the mummies.
Protection for the new Sea.
He has the mummies.
They're hanging by the Frisco Bay.
He has the mummies.
Protectors of the world today.
Hey guys, it's Nigma. I know I've been gone for a while, but, well, I'm back. Today we're going to look at one of my favorite heroes, Pharaoh. When Clockwork came out in Dota, I never really paid much attention to him. His hero model was kinda lame, his attack animation was kinda wonky, and overall his skills, although good, seemed kinda clunky and buggy, like you'd sometimes get stuck outside of your own cogs, or your enemies wouldn't get trapped easily. Well, along comes Heroes of Newerth with one of the most successfully ported heroes in my opinion. Not only does Pharaoh look at least 3 times more badass than Clockwork, but for once his skills seem to just flow a lot better than they did in Dota. But enough about Dota, let's talk Pharaoh. He's one of my favorite heroes for one reason. He's like a Swiss Army knife, he's got a million uses. All of Pharaoh's spells have more than one purpose, which makes him extremely versatile. Pharaoh is an uncanny combination of Initiator and Ganker. This combination doesn't happen too often, and the only other hero I can think of that is really similar might be Devourer. Pharaoh does have a little bit less HP than some strength heroes though, so don't go around thinking you're Rambo. This odd combination of Initiator and Ganker, as well as generally having a very strong laning phase early and an easy time farming, makes Pharaoh an all-game wonder hero capable of being useful all the time. Now, let's go over his skills. Obviously Hellfire and Tormented Soul are taken first, as they are all you need to get kills early on. Make no mistake, Wall of Mummies is one of the best skills in the entire game, but you usually don't need it before level 4 unless you're playing really defensive. Hellfire is pretty self-explanatory. Stay close to the person you're chasing, auto-attack with animation cancelling to make the most of it. At rank 4, a full duration of Hellfire can deal over 900 damage on paper. Tormented Soul is one of my favorite abilities ever because it's got like a million uses. You can use it to score easy last hits on multiple creeps early on, harass your opponents, and make drinking mana potions impossible. You can use it to harass pushes from a safe distance, to scout Kongor, Talbots, or ganks, to push or defend lanes where nobody currently is, and even to kill enemy heroes miles away. Now before I get to talking about Wall of Mummies, I want to talk about his ult. Wrath of the Pharaoh is a spell that is often underestimated and underused. One aspect that is often underestimated is the range and the speed. This spell at rank 4 literally flies a quarter of the map in half a second. Because of how fast it is, aiming the spell is piss easy. You can virtually click on wherever an enemy moving hero is and you will still hit them. Since it's so fast, you can afford to drop ults at max range all the time. Enemies who think you're still much further away than you are won't expect Pharaoh flying at them from 3,000 distance. Another misconception is how the spell itself works. When you ult someone with Pharaoh, and he starts flying over, there is a small effect radius around Pharaoh. In addition to always stunning the target for 0.5 seconds, you will also deal a hefty chunk of damage and drop a large stun on anyone you happen to come into contact with on the way over. While it's good to know, aiming the spell in a way that gets you near more enemies is hard to do considering how fast you're flying. Wrath of the Pharaoh is used not only for ganking, but also for initiating teamfights in combination with mummies. Also, if you're ever in a situation where you are completely trapped, you can use Wrath of the Pharaoh to grab onto far away enemies or allied units if you have Staff of the Master. Since the cooldown is relatively short, you can afford to use this ability often. Using Tormented Soul to scout areas like jungles in combination with using your ult can make for some easy kills. Now on to Wall of Mummies, another spell with a million uses. This spell is what makes Pharaoh an initiator. Use it to trap enemies during ganks and don't forget to have Hellfire on. In teamfights, this spell is amazing because it turns the battle into a complete clusterfuck. The enemy you ulted will be trapped with you, and most other enemies will be pushed back by the mummies, which is extremely annoying because it's more or less a really short stun. Mummies take 3 hits to kill by enemy hands, which usually never happens, because in order to even get close to the mummy, you have to endure the stun. You, on the other hand, can destroy your mummies instantly in 1 hit, making this spell awesome for a variety of reasons. Wall of Mummies is called Wall for a reason. If you're ever being chased, you can almost always easily escape by dropping Wall of Mummies in a choke point, denying a mummy and making your escape. Even if you aren't in a choke point, most frantic enemy heroes will be careless and get too close to a mummy, causing them to get pushed back. Don't be selfish. Use wall of mummies to save teammates. Trap your teammate in the wall of mummies with you and then kill a mummy to let him out. If you did it right, the enemy will still be on the outside and get pushed back. You can even use wall of mummies to get in the way of enemy heroes who want to deny or defend a tower, or to even stop people from interrupting your Kongor or barracks kill. Use wall of mummies often. It's a great spell with a million uses, a short cooldown, and low mana cost. Just be sure to react quickly when killing your mummies to make your escape. Don't just sit around, be ready. Now, on to items. Pharaoh needs mana regeneration early in some form. I recommend a power supply, although if you're up against people who rarely cast anything or team fights don't happen much, I'd recommend Ring of the Teacher. Court items for Pharaoh are Ghost Marchers, Barrier Idol, and Staff of the Master. These choices are pretty self-explanatory. Staff of the Master lets you target allied heroes to make escapes and makes the cooldown 20 seconds, which is amazing. I should note that depending on if you're up against casters or melee heroes, you might want to substitute Helm of the Black Legion for a Shaman headdress, at least later on. Later, items become situational. If you're up against stealth heroes, Puzzle Box can make those lonely nights in your wall of mummies more lively. Keep in mind that although Pharaoh is an early to mid-game ganker, he is by no means any sort of carry. You are building support items because late game you're going to be initiating and supporting. Pharaoh is one of those heroes that if he doesn't farm very well early, he just kind of takes up space later, so you want to make sure that you're having a decent farm in between ganks early to mid-game. Well, I guess that about covers pretty much everything. Happy sniping.
From 1525 BC,
He has the money.
protection for the Pharaoh
He
team.
has the money.
They're hanging by the western
He
gate.
has the money.
They're gonna save the world today. The Egyptian way, the war alive.
This land will be mine.